and appointed women to half of his ministerial posts. Now, we want to have a conversation about Ethiopia and the way forward following this award. And joining me in studio is His Excellency Ambassador Meles Alem, who is Ethiopian ambassador to Kenya. Thank you very much for joining us here on Bottom Line Africa.
Asante sana Ashley Mazuri.
Karibu sana.
Kwakini karibishu.
Karibu sana. Thank you very much. So we'll just start with the award. This is big, not only for Ethiopia, but for Africa in general. So then what impacts does it have?
Once again, asante sana. This Nobel Peace Prize is a very big, not only to Ethiopians, to Kenyans, and to the continent. If we see last October, it has been marked by two major events that made Africa very much proud. One is the victory of King of Marathon, Kipchoge, not only to break the 2 hours mark, but he broke nature. Second, my Prime Minister, His Excellency Abiy Ahmed, won the Nobel Peace Prize. These two success stories show that no human is impossible. With dedications, commitment, and perseverance, the sky is the limit. So the Nobel Peace Prize Award, which my Prime Minister will receive between 3 and 4 p.m. Nairobi hour, is very important because it has given recognitions to the achievements and successes of my Prime Minister in bringing peace and tranquility in the Horn of Africa.
Yes.
One.
Yes.
And second, at the same time, it is about responsibility. For sure, this Nobel Peace Prize have put my Prime Minister in the league of Wangari Maathai, Nelson Mandela, Frederick de Klerk, Kofi Annan,
yes.
You name it, many.
Yeah.
So it will have an inspirational effect.
The 10th to come from Africa and the youngest.
Yes, the youngest, and it has come from an African. Let me take you back to athletics. In the absence of the renowned Ethiopian runner Abiy Bikila, who has won the Rome Marathon 60 years ago, you could not have seen people like Kipchoge in Kenya, people like Gazahanya Barra, and many, many others in the continent. So it will have also an inspirational impact, Ashley.
All right, so the award is seen as one that will most likely introduce many foreign investors to Ethiopia. At the moment, are there any economic reforms that are being made to attract even more foreign investors to make it suitable for them?
Yes, Ashley. Look, since His Excellency Dr. Abiy Ahmed came to power, Ethiopia is undertaking unparalleled reforms. These reforms are political, economical, and social. The social reforms you have already mentioned about widening the political space, pardoning the dissident forces, belligerent forces, appointing the first and only African President, Her Excellency Ambassador Sahle-Work Zewde, who is a good friend of Kenyans. She has been DJ in Nairobi for 3 years. In fact, Kenyans fondly call her Sally. The cabinet is 50% women, and this is not sheer number. Women take very key government portfolios. So politically, we have taken quite good number of measures that will put the democratization process in a very smooth track. Economically, actually, the past 2 decades was not gloomy in Ethiopia. Ethiopia has registered a very remarkable double-digit economic growth for over 15 years. It is one of the rising economic success stories in the world. If we see the infrastructure development in the country, we have achieved glaringly visible change in Ethiopia. The road, the railway, the telecommunications, expansion of the Ethiopian Airlines, you name it. Very glaring changes are visible in Ethiopia. Let me take you to the education sectors.
Okay.
Regardless of the challenge of quality that we have at home, the tertiary level has increased at an exponential rate. Primary education is 100%. The secondary education is over 80%. So the success stories are there economically. But we can't lay back and take that for granted. This is a very changing global world. So the government of His Excellency Dr. Abiy Ahmed is also taking different measures that will help to attract investors. We are trying to liberalize the economy so that Ethiopia continues to be a tourist, not only tourist, but investment destinations in the world. Kenyans are most welcome. I know Kenyans are very vibrant entrepreneurs.
Yes.
Every other day I'm receiving like 5, 6 Kenyan businessmen who want to tap from opportunities in Ethiopia. Don't forget, Ethiopia is a country of over 100 million populations.
Okay.
The Horn of Africa has got like 250 million populations, out of which Ethiopia makes half of that. So going to Ethiopia would mean going to like 5 or 6 Horn of Africa countries.
Even
we have comparative advantage of energy.
Yes.
We have big trainable youth populations. So these all cumulative comparative advantage that Ethiopia has will make it an ideal destinations, true ideal destinations for investment, actually.
All right, even with these reforms that are taking place in Ethiopia under the leadership of the Prime Minister, we're still seeing challenges, and violence has been something that has been in the country, experienced in the country in the past few months. Are there any steps taken forward to address this issue? And if so, how far are they?
You know, this kind of changes impacts every aspect of life in the country. Any transitions, any change, including those changes that has happened in many African countries, early 1990s, were not a walk in the park. The same is true. Ethiopia is not an exception. While undertaking this kind of huge, multifaceted reform programs, we have few challenges. Issue of security is one. We have few violences here and there. Economic challenges are there also. Foreign currency crunch, inflations, among others, are posing a serious challenge to the ongoing transformations. But the government has undertaken various reform agendas to bring a strong, united Ethiopia. We have established the National Reconciliations Commissions, which will be working to iron out the bumpy roads that Ethiopia have been going and resolve those ethnic adversaries that we are observing in the country. Not only that, we have also started to bring those people accountable to account. Economically, as I said, liberalization measures are being taken.
Okay,
so the results so far promising. Don't forget, Ethiopia is one of the oldest civilizations in the world. Our journey throughout our history was not always peaceful. We have a history of war, we have a history of conflict. But at the end of the day, when the security and the territorial integrity of my country is at stake, Ethiopians always stand in unison.
All right, so you have mentioned that there's a reconciliation commission. What exactly are the steps that this reconciliation commission is supposed to take to ensure that the violence ends in Ethiopia?
You know, the violence has everything to do with grievances that dates back for over 100 years. So at all levels, the government is trying to engage all stakeholders so that those bad feelings of certain sectors of society are made public, and we address our baggage. And so far, so good.
All right. Allow me to take you back to issues to deal with the economy. And of course, there's the issue of infrastructure. We're aware that Ethiopia is building a grand Ethiopian Renaissance dam, but it has brought problems, if not hitches, between Egypt and Sudan. I know there were talks that were done recently. How far is that?
Well, the Grand Renaissance Dam is 100% financed by Ethiopians. Mm-hmm. It is a flagship project of Ethiopians by Ethiopians, with the sole purpose of ensuring sustainable development in the country. Let me bring to your attention that Ethiopia contributes like 86% of water to the Nile, whereas our usage of the dividend of the water is zero. Mm-hmm. 65 million Ethiopians live in darkness. So by all measures, the government has a sole responsibility of bringing light to to every household. So we have the natural right to develop our resources, including River Nile, which we call it River Abiy. Mm-hmm. But when we do that, we always make sure that it will not have adverse effects on our neighbors.
Okay.
So the GERD, the Great Ethiopian Renaissance Dam, has no significant impact on whichever country of the lower riparian. In fact, if there was justice, countries like Sudan and Egypt should have contributed for the constructions of the dam, because it contributes in reducing siltations, increasing flow of water annually, mm-hmm. and reduction of flood on the river basins of Sudan and Egypt. So in our view, the Ethiopian government is committed for consultations with our sisterly countries.
So the fact that Egypt and Sudan are claiming that this will restrict or discuss water shared from the Nile, it is not true.
That is not true and absolutely not correct.
All right. Thank you very much, Ambassador Meles Alem, Ethiopian ambassador to Kenya. Thank you very much for making time for us here on Bottom Line Africa.
Let me take this opportunity to congratulate the government and the peoples of Kenya, to wish them a very successful and fruitful 2020 New Year and Merry Christmas. Asante sana.
Thank you very much. Merry Christmas to you too.